Hi, I'm Jake, and I've been drawing Pokemon since I was 7 years old. Welcome back to my channel. I've got a very exciting video for you all today. I've gathered together some of my favourite Fakemon artists and dished out 3 random sprites to each of them to participate in a drawing challenge. The twist is that I'm going to draw them as well, and we're going to compare them to see if we were on the same thought process or completely different. So don't forget to like the video and drop a comment down below, and also check out all the other artists featured in this video because they're amazing and you need to show them some love as well. So let's get into it.
I picked these 3 sprites to start with because I was getting like trash core vibes from them, if that makes sense. So this one I thought could be like a discarded TV, like it has that black screen that could be its face, and the pink pixels at the top made me think of antenna, and the 2 at the sides made me think of buttons for the TV. That yellow colour made me think of like an artificial plasticky outer casing. Then for the middle stage, the 2 long pixels at the top made me think of a broken antenna, and the weird checkerboard pattern at the bottom I thought could be a tangled mess of wires that could be its stretchy arms, I guess. I did take a bit of creative liberty with its face, but it was needed to make the sprite work. Now the final evolution was very different. It was a quite hard sprite to work with, but the weird pixels at the top made me think of a huge TV antenna. And I interpreted the random purple pixels as like sparks of purple electricity. Introducing Bleepbox, Statitube and Broadmaster, the electric and steel type Pokemon. Inspired by retro TV units and TV antennas. Obviously, these guys would have the static ability. It's a no-brainer.
Demi just sent me her Fakemon on Discord, and it's actually the first one I've seen out of all of the participants. And I wanted to film my reaction to them, but I just opened the message and didn't realise it was going to be that, but wow. This is going to be such a fun challenge. So she went down the crab route, which I did not get at all when I saw the sprites, and this is why I thought that the collab was going to be such a good idea, to see everyone's different interpretations of it. So yeah, it's completely different to what I had in mind, and I love it.
Unfortunately, Demi doesn't have any social media, so I can't link her down below, but you should join my Discord server where she posts incredible Fakemon art, so definitely come and check that out. For now, I'll introduce you to Oraclaw, the Pearl Pokemon. They wear arm floaters to stay water buoyant and read possible futures through its magic pearl. It evolves into Orashell, the Prophet Pokemon. They wear a turban-like shell. The pearl embedded in its centre has awakened into a third eye, granting it foresight. And the final evolution is Oricorius, the Oracle Pokemon. It grows an extra set of claws to guard its core. Dark magic leaks from the eye in feather-like plumes. I'm obsessed with Oraclaw. It is so cute, and the name is amazing too. And I really like how she's interpreted the negative space as a dark magic pearl. Incredible. The second set of sprites were obviously giving Bug, and if you know me by now, you know I love Bug type Pokemon. That bright green colour made me think of radioactivity, so I went with a Roach as the first stage because roaches are like well known to survive nuclear blasts. Is that a thing? Is that why they're associated with nuclear stuff? I think it is. So I just made it a nuclear bug. It's going to be a bug and poison type. The weird shape of the second sprite made me think of those nuclear reactors or the chimneys that you see, and I interpreted the black in the middle of the design as like a gas mask. This could be like the pupa stage, where it like hunkers down and stores that energy enough for it to evolve into its final stage. I also tried to make the colours make it seem like it was kind of like a worker in a factory. So this is the final stage, which obviously needed to be a stag beetle, but I was just debating how to do it. I thought maybe I could interpret its horn as like a big mushroom cloud maybe. And then I thought I'll just have it have this big radioactive horn that even a slight scratch from can poison you. I just tilted the design to make it seem like it was coming at you with that horn too. Not gonna lie, I don't think this is my best work, and it's a design that I actually might like to come back to in the future just to tweak a little bit. Hopefully Gabe can come up with something a little bit better than I did. Introducing the bug and poison types, Radroach, Reactoroon and Melt Dread. So now over to Gabe for his interpretation.
Hello everybody, Gabe from Sinnoh here. So for this challenge, we're drawing sprites, and looking at the sprites that Jake sent, I think he actually set us up pretty good. My first thought instantly is that that first stage is going to be a bug. And for that middle stage here, I'm kind of seeing a vase, like maybe something gold, something kind of treasury. So I think what I want to do is I think I want to do a mix of an Egyptian scarab and a jewel beetle, and then maybe kind of incorporate treasure as the motif. And for that final stage, I'm really kind of thinking something more like Heracross with a big trident horn and then maybe big hook claws to kind of dig through the sand. So the first thing I do is I get a notebook and then I sketch. What this does is it kind of lets me get all my ideas on paper, as well as just kind of have different options to pick from. And so looking around those, that is how I ended up with this for the first stage, this design for the second stage, and this design for the third stage. Before I start working digitally, I do the most important step, and that is subscribing to Jake's Fakes. If you have not subscribed to Jake's Fakes yet, this is your time. You need to subscribe to Jake's Fakes. Do not watch the rest of this video until you've subscribed to Jake's Fakes. So for this first stage here, I really just kind of wanted to lean into something cute, something kind of very generic bug. I almost wanted to keep the segmented style of earlier generations, but kind of incorporate some of the cuteness, more simple shapes of newer generations of Pokemon. The colors for this are fairly muted. I do wish I could do a little bit more with the gem on the back, but with what we have so far, I think it came out pretty well. For the second stage, I kind of had an idea going into it that I wanted to do a gold treasure vase, and it almost immediately fell apart when I first started drawing it. And so I ended up borrowing the face from this stage and the body shape from this sketch and kind of just melding them together and winging it as I went. I wanted to do a sort of spiraling pattern around it just to add an extra layer of dimension, especially because we don't really have too much visually going on. But interestingly enough, with the size of that crest and the colors that we were given, it ended up looking way too busy. I'm not super happy with how this one came out, but hopefully if I had another pass at it and a little more freedom, we could turn it into something, because I feel like the concept is really strong. Now for the final stage, and in my opinion, the best one out of the three. Those big scooping claws really came together the way I wanted it to, and just the clear silhouette of this was really nice. Now, Jake said we could use black and white to cut the extra colors, so I ended up only using one stage of the more vibrant green, and then using white to kind of break apart the darker muddying colors for the green and the brown. I think it came out really well. I do think the body shape is different enough from Heracross. I went with more of a diamond instead of a square to kind of differentiate it as well, and I went with more of a jolly old man demeanor instead of a sleek bug armored kind of look. And with that, those are our three stages: Bejewel, In a Vase, and Scarabeetle. I am so happy with the final looks of these, though I do wish I could have another pass at them. I'm really interested to see what Jake's gonna do. And thank you to Jake for having me.
So Gabe has just sent me his finished video, so I'm going to watch it now and get my reaction. Oh, we went different routes. They're well cool. I've got a thing for sketches, I really love them. Thanks Gabe, thanks for the shout out. Oh, so the little black pixel became the like gem on it, that's so cool. That Gen 1 style colouring is so nice. Oh, it's so cool, but I'm biased, I love bugs. Gabe, I think they're better than mine.
Yeah, so I genuinely think I need to end the collab right now because everyone's blowing me out of the water. Everyone's showing me up. All of their designs are so good. I adore these. The jewel beetle going into the burial urn, going into the scarab beetle. It's great. It's giving Egyptian, and I'm totally here for it. So moving on to the third set of sprites, I saw these as feminine rocks. That sounds weird saying it out loud, but I interpreted some of the pixels on the top of the heads as like ponytails or hairstyles made out of stacked rocks. And I'd actually had these designs or these sprites picked out to add to the region for quite a long time because of this. Now I think about it, this is the second stacked rocked Fakemon that I've made. Maybe I've got a thing for stacked rocks that I don't know about. But I wanted to include more of a psychic type vibe to this, or a meditative state. And as you can see in this evolution, I made some of the stones levitate and gave it those markings on its head and body to give it more of that psychic feel. I thought it could be maybe levitating its rocks, similar to those rocks that you see in Avatar, and they comprise its body and can rearrange itself. Like I said, I got feminine energy from these sprites, and it was mainly the middle sprite of the evolution line that gave me the whole inspiration. For the final evolution, I interpreted those green bits as like a mossy skirt maybe. I made it like a golem or a colossus with big chunky legs, and then the separated pixels I interpreted as floating stones that it used like hands and its head. Introducing Pebble, Cairnerity, and Gaelithia. They're rock and psychic type Pokemon with the ability Levitate. And now I'll hand you over to Umar.
Hi, I'm Umar, and these are the pixels I was given. Looking at these pixels, I was really taken by what looks like a big head with a goofy expression in the first image, and I could see similar shapes in the third image by interpreting the black in the middle as a big black face rather than negative space. I decided to interpret these three images as being front views of three quadrupedal creatures. The dramatic colour shift from yellow to green was an interesting challenge to figure out. It stumped me for a while, but something about the specific shade of green in the third one made me think about how copper alloy turned green when they oxidize. Bronze is a copper alloy, and close enough to the colours of the previous two stages that I thought that could be a fun hook for a steel type. Kinda like how Cufant and Copperaja work. Since this is Jake's channel, and he's working on a Greece-themed region, I also want to do something inspired by Greek myth. The vaguely mammalian shapes of the pixels, as well as the steel typing I had settled on, led me to the Nemean lion, one of the mythical beasts killed by Hercules as one of his 12 labours. The Nemean lion's fur was impervious to attack, which I thought fit a steel type quite nicely. I thought that such a big shift in colours should also communicate a big personality change, so I went with the idea of a cowardly lion cub becoming fiercer and braver with experience. Here we have Copper, Nemetal, and Nemenis. As a bonus, here's the colours I would have picked if I wasn't limited to the ones from the pixels. Working on these mods was super fun. Thanks for having me on, Jake.
So I'm just on my lunch break now at work, and I'm actually sat in my car, but Umar sent through his finished Fakemon, so I was like, I need to go and look at these now. So let's have a look. I'm just looking at the screen smiling, there's not even any Fakemon on yet. Oh, I can see it, but that's not what I saw. They're so cool. Clever. Copper is so cute. I love the idea of tying it into Iopa, and I actually hadn't thought of a Nemean lion. I'd seen it online but not thought of creating a Fakemon based off it. But the idea of that really works. Especially like with the steel type too. Better than mine. I can't tell you how much I love this evolution line, and the Iopa reference as well blew my mind. They're incredible. Umar's been very creative with these sprites because often they just appear as very like humanoid, just the way the generator works them, and I struggle to make quadrupedal Fakemon from them as well, so he's done very well with this, and the idea of interpreting the negative space as a main, perfect. I also want to say this is just a perfect showcase of his style, like the fluid lines, those eyes, they're great. For the fourth set of sprites, I picked these three because they had similar colours, and also I got like helmet and armour vibes from them, and because they were quite dark I thought they could work as like haunted sets of armour, kind of like Aegislash I guess. I took a little bit of creative liberty with this sprite and I interpreted those blue pixels as like ectoplasm that was leaking out of the helmet. It was the true form of the Pokemon because it's a little ghost. With this one, that blue pixel in the middle I interpreted as an eye, and again with the blue bits coming out the side as those ectoplasmic ghostly arms, and interpreted some of the negative space as a black ghostly body. I snapped off one of its horns on its helmet just to give it a bit more of an aged look too. For the final evolution, I went full on haunted set of armour, and I gave it a weapon, which I'm not sure if it makes it more of like an RPG game villain or enemy rather than a Pokemon. Pokemons don't tend to use weapons, except for like Marowak maybe. Anyway, I imagine it to just be this timid little ghost that tries to intimidate people with this huge set of armour that it's found. The armour's actually quite weak and rusty though. Meet Helmer, Grim Gun, and Faux Saber, the ghost and steel type Pokemon with the ability Intimidate. And now I'll hand you over to SeaJay to see what he did with these sprites.
Making a Pokemon out of just a couple of pixels and 3 colors was tricky, to say the least, but I feel like I've done an okay job. The trick for me was finding a concept, a through line, something that could connect all 3 of my pixelated images and turn them into something meaningful. When I saw this first one, to me, it looked like a mask. And I took the gray and green concept pretty literally and created a small tree sproutling that inhabits the abandoned ruins of a stone temple. Specifically, this first basic stage takes over the helm of a fallen stone statue of a dragon. Meet Hostone, the parasitic root Pokemon. Hostones seek out ancient ruins where they can place down their roots. While it can move, it prefers not to. Instead, it focuses on conserving energy and waiting for its next victim to pass by. It can spray paralyzing pollen, which can fell even large Pokemon. Its roots will then creep over the victim, slowly draining their life from them. They can be difficult to find hidden among the stones they weave themselves into. Once I had Hostone figured out, it was a little tricky to get to the next step. I mean, look at this array of pixels. This is crazy. I don't know how anyone's turning this into a Pokemon. But I did my best. I imagined that the chunks on the sides were wings and that the top was shoulders. Now, you're seeing wings and shoulders, and that's because I already have a head. In fact, this evolution of Hostone is meant to work in tandem with it to create the full stone statue of a dragon. Meet Vinverm. Vinverm work in harmony with Hostone, creating a network of parasitic plants throughout a ruined structure. Using their pollen, they can paralyze giant Pokemon, and working together, they can even fell massive ones. When one Vinverm feeds, so does the rest of the colony. Though they can be trained individually, it is not particularly clear if this Pokemon has a mind of its own, or if it operates through a hive mind of connected vines. Once again, the next evolution was tricky. I mean, I already have a head and body of a dragon. I could make legs, but I don't know any Pokemon that are just legs. That didn't feel complete to me. Instead, I decided to take it to the next logical step for me. If you have a dragon, it needs a castle or a temple to guard, and so this evolution is meant to be representative of that. It, instead of being an animated creature, acts as an entire building itself. Meet Simbrix, the parasitic tree Pokemon. Simbrix are not a violent Pokemon, but they are no stranger to hunting. An ambush predator, they have disguised their body using the fallen bricks of a ruined temple. Anciently, they were thought to be the temple's guardians, and sacrifices were made to them. Now, we understand that the protection they offered was solely incidental, and Simbrix were actually just hungry. Vinverm can be found perched on their shoulders.
So I finished my sprites last night, so I'm going to have a look at what SeaJay made for these ones now. Oh, this is sick already. So we went the helmet route, but very differently. I feel like SeaJay's style has slightly changed in this, and it looks incredible. This is typical SeaJay. Looks good. Even the sketch is incredible. I'm actually blown away. The final evolution is well cool, and the name is amazing too. The shiny too. I'm just sat here smiling at the screen. Sorry, I've got work going on downstairs.
I feel like we actually went down really similar routes. I interpreted that blue as like ectoplasm, whereas SeaJay interpreted it as plants, but we both did a creature inhabiting armour. Mine was just metallic and SeaJay's was stone. It works really well. I also feel like these designs are so stereotypical of SeaJay's style and his creative process. The lore he put into the dex entries is amazing, and look at these forms he even made. Incredible. Moving on to the fifth and final set of sprites, I immediately got Moths from these, with the final sprite being Moths wearing pants. This first sprite I interpreted as a tiny bug body with wings much larger than itself. With all the different colours and all the different pixels in its wings, I imagine them to be like a swirling toxic pattern. Maybe in its later evolutions you'll see what I mean, but I was envisioning, like, you know when you spill oil on the floor and you get all those metallic-y, shiny colours appearing in it? That's the vibe that I wanted to go for. With this sprite, I thought I needed to change the wings into something a bit better. I thought maybe they could be like a poncho, you know, like draped over it. And then I thought, why don't I just make the wings completely made out of metallic, sludgy disgustingness. And that's the way I went with it. So this Fakemon line is going to be a bug and poison type, because you know I love bugs. Look at that cute moth face. Come on. How could you not love it? For the sprite of the final evolution, I interpreted those longer pixels as legs and arms, with the more wing-shaped pixels being like the poncho I was on about, draped over its body. So I imagine its poncho or its wings are completely made up of this poisonous material that's constantly shifting in colours and patterns. So I used the black in the pixels, like the negative space, to add a bit more to the design. Meet Irisect, Toxmoth and Behemoth, the bug and poison type Pokemon. And finally, last but by no means least, French-teapot.
Hi everyone! Really glad to have been invited for this challenge because I'd wanted to do one of my own for a while. When Jake showed me these sprites, my first thought was that the colour scheme was very poisony, and then I cheated a bit and turned the first sprite on its side. The concept that came to my mind was kind of like Parasitic, a bug that's been taken over by a fungal parasite, and in this case it would be a poisonous mushroom. So I thought that by turning the sprite, it looked more like something I could turn into a mushroom, with the little purple dot being like a worm or a maggot coming out. I had a lot of trouble getting the colours to look natural, as it is a very garish colour scheme to work with, so I don't love how it looks when it's next to its evolutions, but I sort them out a little later on. So this is Malignant, the poison worm Pokemon. The mushrooms that Malignant live on are fatally toxic to all other Pokemon, and it's the only creature that's able to feed on them. Despite this, the spores still infect it, taking root in its brain and slowly decaying its mind. Over time, Malignant become less and less reactive, their already dull personalities fading as they approach evolution. The second sprite was the main one that inspired this parasitic idea, so I thought I could start introducing those aspects into the design. The jump from a maggot on a mushroom to a moth-like pupa is a bit big, but I'm still pretty happy with the result. The sprite had these random pixels up in the air, so I thought I could interpret them as small mushrooms beginning to grow on the antennae, while the kind of mossy green area looks kind of like a cape. It made me think of wrapping yourself up when you're feeling sick, so that was the concept I went with for this guy. This is Pupestilant, the infected Pokemon. While Pupestilant no longer have any distinguishable personality traits, they're often quite jittery and skittish. The fungus in its body has begun growing on it, making its nervous system extremely sensitive to external stimuli, which in turn caused Pupestilant to tremble constantly. This last sprite actually looked more like a hulking ogre to me, so it was hard to make myself see something else that would fit in with this line. In the end, I made the bits that looked like legs into kind of a draping cloak, and the two loose pixels at the top could just be a more emphasized mushroom. I don't know. It really was a challenge to try and incorporate everything I was seeing and still make the overall concept a cohesive one. So I don't know how well I did, but it was definitely a good exercise. So here we have Miasmoth, Bug and Poison, the fungus moth Pokemon. The mushrooms on Miasmoth's antennae are bursting with what seem to be toxic spores, shaking out as the Pokemon wanders aimlessly. These spores are actually tiny eggs that hatch into new Malignant. When Miasmoth dies, its mushrooms detach and continue to grow into those that Malignant live on. If a person or Pokemon accidentally inhale these spore-like eggs, the resulting symptoms may be life-threatening if not treated quickly. So my main issue with these designs is really the colour progression. While I kept to the scheme that the original sprites had, I didn't feel like the Pokemon looked appealing together, so I thought I'd just change either Malignant's colours to fit with the original Pupestilant and Miasmoth tones, or the latter two to fit the original Malignant. I think they work better both ways than the initial colour scheme, so one way can be the shiny to the other. And that's my lot. So thanks Jake, back to you then.
So it's very late right now, but I've just finished my designs for these sprites. So I'm going to watch what French has sent me and react to the sprites that she did. I got that too. Oh, this is incredible. Oh, the cry as well, so cute. This is kind of similar. That poncho-y theme. We just went with different poisons. I love it. The antennae are so cool, and the idea of mixing the mushroom in to carry on with the first evolution looks well good. Oh, French, you did very well. This looks incredible. And Miasmoth is an incredible name as well. We had a really similar idea, just slightly different execution. Probably the most similar out of the whole video. Great minds think alike. Well done, French. That was incredible.
Again, biased because I love bugs, but I absolutely adore this evolution line. It's so cute in a toxic, dangerous kind of way. The sprites do heavily imply bug types, so I was expecting a bug, and we both went down quite a similar route, just different toxins. Mine was petrol and French's was mushrooms.
So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as we did, and if you did, make sure to drop a like and a comment down below and subscribe to myself and all these amazing artists. Hopefully if you all enjoyed this video, I'll do something similar in the future. But for now, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!